Hello, racers, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Race in Review. The podcast started by a couple of sim racers that love Formula One racing. On our YouTube channel, we bring you all things sim racing, well, at least soon. On this podcast, we bring you opinions about the latest F1 race and we predict the upcoming race as well. Oh, yeah, one of us supports Lewis, the other one supports Max, and we still get along in the wonderful world of Formula One. That is, until one decides to be a Lando supporter, I guess. My name is John, and I'll be your host today, talking about the race in the US, namely the Circuit of the Americas, COTA in Austin, Texas. And of course, I couldn't do this alone, so I'm joined by the man with the best hair in the business. It's none other than Mr. James Hazel.
Hello there.
Hello, James.
You all right?
Yeah, it's been too long, I'd say, but we make daily content these days on another show, so it's not been that long.
But it's been too long for Formula One. Yeah.
It has. These breaks,
we have
mate.
a summer break, have a couple of races, and then they take another 3-week break.
These breaks are insane, but it's unlucky, right?
I don't know what Max and some of the other team members and drivers are complaining about. It feels like they've got it pretty easy to me.
Well, okay, let's not go. Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Well, they're straight into Mexico next week, so
exactly.
this week coming. So,
famous last attempt for Checo, but hey, we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had this long break. During this break, James, we said goodbye to Daniel Ricciardo.
Sad times, but yeah.
We had Toyota join the F1 circus, but not in the way we expected.
No,
and it's a deal I still don't understand.
Yeah, but I think it's still good for even just for the name to be in the sport and maybe they'll expand on the deal or whatever. So I think it's still good.
I mean, it's better than Dark Trace McLaren. I agree. Honda Yazoo, I think it is Kazoo Racing.
I don't know. And there's Renault leaving or the engine supplier leaving.
Yeah, and I want to talk about before we start. Can we not ever do a one-off livery that is a carbon copy of a McLaren? Even though McLaren started to make chrome in there.
It'd be nice not to, yeah. If only because not only was it difficult to notice the difference on track at times, but I got very bored very quickly of the repeated joke by all the commentators, pundits, and anyone presenting anything to do with Formula One, joking about how, but that's not a McLaren, that's an Alpine. Yeah, that was funny like the first time.
Yeah.
By the 100th time, I was kind of over that joke, but they carried on with it anyway for the entire weekend.
Also, if you're marketing a new Indiana Jones game,
yes,
maybe make sure that's actually done properly, because all our commentators kept saying it's for the new Indiana Jones movie. It's about the new Indiana Jones movie. Yeah. They're happy the new movie. I'm like, I'm sure there's no movie coming, but the game's out almost. So
yeah, there's a bit of confusion around that, I think, but hey ho, it's still Indiana Jones gets some press coverage or whatever, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Although it almost seemed like the McLarens swapped cars with Gasly.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's try, James, summarize the Austin Grand Prix in, let's say, about a minute?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. I don't think I can do it in 1 minute, but I'll try, okay? All right. Go. So the race in 1 minute. Red Bull is back. Well, they were on Saturday during the sprint race, which Max actually won. His teammate, however, was lost once again. I think he started in Mexico. Norris lost some points because both Ferraris looked amazing. Qualifying brought Norris still on pole position after George Russell folded his car in his final lap, while Lewis, well, again, didn't qualify at his best, taking the Mercs all the way back on a Sunday. Talking about poor qualifying, what has happened with Checo? Actually, never mind. We all know what happened with Checo. He struggled to even pass a Williams rookie. Hinted Colapinto is amazing. But Colapinto had a 34 lap all tires, and still Checo couldn't pass him on new mediums or new hards. Another rookie making the mark and instantly becoming Alonso's arch enemy is Liam Lawson, taking over the V-Carb seat from Daniel, or AlphaTauri if you want to hear Alonso's radio. He had to start with a 60 place grid penalty, and all the way from Miami, he managed to finish into the points. As the future teammate of Max, he had a good view on the amazing battle between Max and Lando. Max showing Lando a masterclass. Okay, that might be a little bit bad in defending and world championship aggressiveness, but also making it clear this season's predictions can't be made at all, James. And again, that's pretty awesome for Formula One. Awesome is also how the Ferraris would have rated this weekend. They learned from their fight on Saturday's sprint race and clawed their way into yet another 1-2 victory, making the Ferraris contenders actually for the World Constructor titles. And with Red Bull, cough cough, Perez again, completely dropping the ball. Is Max in the clear? Does Norris have to look back instead of Charles? Instead to Charles, who's just 22 points behind him, or will the McLarens be back next week in this unpredictable Formula One championship? Next week is Mexico, where the wins are just as predictable as a Haas partnership. Anyways, in any case, both the sprint race and the regular race showed a Formula One that rocks, which is a t-shirt next on James's to-do list. James.
Yeah.
Explain that joke for me. Well, I'll go open up the results for this weekend.
I'm not even wearing the t-shirt. I'm not wearing the merch.
Oh, we got one merch shirt going.
I thought with Hamilton moving to Ferrari, I thought the Tifosi, British Tifosi, would be Tifosi. I thought that was quite a funny little pun, and I put it on.
It was funny, so funny.
Yeah. So, but I'm not wearing one, so I can't rep it. I got the mug. I will sip from the Tifosi mug. Makes my tea taste even better. No. Yeah, great summary. It was a great race. The sprint was surprising. McLaren was surprising in that they weren't as fast as they have been. Ferrari were the one team to bring 0 upgrades and ended up dominating the race and actually showing a lot of strength in the sprint, even though they didn't manage to win it. Red Bull not looking as bad as they have done in the past. Mercedes upgrades doing nothing but causing cars to go spinning off on fast corners with a bit of crosswind. And Colapinto just doing Colapinto things and just dominating Albon ever since he joined Williams.
Dominating Albon and dominating the media.
Yeah.
I love the kid. Sorry, but he's amazing. Although
I do.
After a race interview, I have a little bit of trouble understanding him, if I'm honest, because he seemed exhausted after yesterday's race.
Yeah, so I saw a couple of interviews of his over the weekend. There was one. It was an interview with the F1 TV team. It was quite a short interview. It was just talking about his opportunity in Formula One. And it just gave a really good insight into his personality and his attitude. And that just seems to be, to me, that he just wants to drive cars fast. He loves to be in Formula One. He knows that opportunities are very, very hard to come by in the sport of Formula One. He's been given one. He feels very privileged to get it. And he's just making the most of it. He's just grabbing it with both hands and going for it. And that definitely shows in his driving and his racing. And I'm a bit worried that this show over the last couple of episodes is turning into the Colapinto show to some extent, but I really am a huge fan of his. His driving's phenomenal. His defense against Perez for all those laps on such old tires. I know we give Perez a lot of stick, but we're talking about a rookie who's only like his fourth race in Formula
Fourth
1
race, yeah.
in a Williams versus one of the more experienced drivers on the grid in one of the better cars on the grid, struggling to get past.
Yeah, although Perez does has the aggressiveness of a turtle these days.
Yeah, I've seen those snapping turtles.
Yeah, he's not a snapping turtle, I can say that.
No, he's not.
And I respect Perez for all he's done, though, for his career. But if you get rid of Daniel, this is done.
I don't understand how you keep Perez.
If they lose not only the World Championship, but they also lose second place. 100% guaranteed.
They will do at this rate. Yeah, it's going to happen. He cannot keep finishing outside the top 5. And this is outside the top 5.
But he does.
And this is outside the top 5 when Hamilton barely even starts the race, and Russell starts from the pit lane and still finishes ahead of him, and with a 5-second penalty, which he barely really deserved, which I think we're going to get onto penalties later on. But like the worst showing from Perez, maybe not the entire season because he's had a lot of bad showings, but that was a very bad showing from him, and he just can't keep driving like this.
Well,
he finished a minute.
He can
off.
5 more late races.
Yeah, he finished a minute off the lead, 59 seconds off the lead.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. In a Red Bull, that is just unacceptable. How he still has that seat. The only reason can be is that
he finished 3 seconds in front, or 2.5 seconds in front of Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas.
Yeah, exactly. He finished 3 seconds behind Russell.
10 seconds in front of Lawson, who started 60. No, not 60, of course, but who almost
all the way
started
at the
in
back of
Miami.
the grid. Yeah.
On his first race in the car.
First race in however long. It's just it's just unacceptable. Again, like I said, I don't know how else to phrase it. Like he shouldn't be in a top team. He is wasting a seat, and seats are few and far between in Formula 1 as it is. What's he doing in that for Red Bull seat? The only reason
awesome
Red Bull...
bridge into my first focus topic.
Okay, go on.
Topic number 1, James.
Sure.
So, Colapinto has no seat for next year.
He does not.
Him coming in and showing what rookies can do, or what the F2 grid is capable of. Let's maybe even put it like this.
Yeah.
Him getting the not only Argentina, but I think all South America sponsors lined up to get him into a car somewhere.
Yeah.
Even, and I forgot the man, but I think it's the sponsor that Checo has is interested in picking Colapinto up now.
Right.
Because of the area. Here's my state. Should they drop Sergio Perez right after Mexico? Move Lawson in to Red Bull and give the AlphaTauri the V-Corp seat to Colapinto.
I don't think they'll be able to get Colapinto in this year, would they? They'd have to, maybe for next year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they can't do it after Mexico. Fair enough.
Williams
next year.
Williams are not going to let him go while they need a driver because he's actually scoring points for the team.
Next year, Max and Lawson, Yuki, and Colapinto.
Yeah.
He deserves the seat. Lawson showed that he's on par as well. Just make, it's not a fluke if you come in, start at the back, and hits 9th position in total. That's not a fluke.
The only reason I would disagree with that slightly is look at Nick De Vries when he did his
but that's on Monza, which on a high-powered Williams car, I think that's different. That's all different. And it's not his first. The races he played before, drove before, was also good. But I think it's time for talent. Put in the youngsters. They show it's...
I I'm not. The only reason I'm not 100% convinced on Lawson, and don't get me wrong, his race was very, very good and it was very impressive, and that's a great start. But his sprint race wasn't particularly good at all. And I am going to agree with you, and I think that after Mexico, they should just swap the pair of them. If they've waited all this time and they're still not going to swap Yuki in, at least swap Lawson in, because at this point,
Yes.
Red Bull has nothing to lose by doing it because they are already going to lose second in the championship if they carry on the way they go with Perez.
They will 100. Can't like
It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
They can't afford to keep Perez in that. Well, they can do if they really want to, but they will suffer for it. And if they want to finish at least second in the championship and potentially have somebody to help Max, because Perez isn't. So why not roll the dice and see if you get somebody who does? And if you swap Perez and Lawson around, and Lawson still doesn't help Max, well, you haven't lost anything because Perez wasn't doing that job anyway.
So you're actually saying it's after Mexico they swap them around even?
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think they should do that. 100% they should, because you've got to take a risk. The current setup
there's no risk.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. There is no risk because the current setup isn't working. So you might as well try it. If it doesn't work, you end up in the same situation that you're heading for anyway by keeping Perez. So just swap them, see what happens. The only thing with that is Yuki. Yuki will not be happy, and they will lose Yuki as a driver if they do that.
Yeah,
he will leave. I don't know when his contract is due. I'm pretty sure he's guaranteed next year, but he will not stay with Red Bull if they do that to him.
But is that a big issue? I love Yuki, right? Honestly. But this weekend shows again that if he's pressured in the team, he's also not making it. And Albon is considered the golden boy. We talked about him 4 weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, saying great performances. He's getting owned by Colapinto. That's not a fluke either.
Colapinto is showing that Albon was potentially really looking amazing just because his teammate was Logan Sargent.
He looked like Albon looks like he's back at next to Max now in the Red Bull year.
He looks stressed. He looks unsettled, and it's all because the new kid on the block has come in and isn't being beaten by Albon. In fact, for the most part, Albon is being beaten by him, like race after race. So
qualifying after qualifying, even
qualifying after qualifying. So yeah,
are we holding on to drivers too long, James? In Formula 1,
in some cases, probably, yeah. I think a situation like Perez. Perez is still in the sport purely because he's seen as a safe bet, and there's no other reason for it. He's not kept in the sport because
sponsor money, though.
Well, there's sponsor money, but they're not looking at him thinking, yeah, one day it's going to be Perez's year and he's going to win the championship. That's not why Perez is in Formula 1.
No, but you sell a lot of Red Bull cans in South America.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and that's why any team would have him and would still have him if he got dropped by Red Bull. Really, I think it's time for him to retire. And when you've got somebody like Colapinto who could sweep in and, grab all these sponsors in South America and provide them to a team via a younger and more talented driver, time for Perez to leave. There's a new South American talent at the moment, and that's Colapinto.
I agree. Also, Colapinto's social media game is ace.
He's just ace in general. I mean, But yeah,
maybe I should send him a message. Maybe he can come on the show. Well, he's still not signed to Red Bull. Like Colapinto, I'll send you a message just saying you don't have a seat for next year yet, but you always have a seat at our table.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps.
Yeah. I don't see how he doesn't have a seat next year because he's proving that
he's out of contract.
It's not a fluke. This isn't like Nick de Vries coming in, doing well on one race and everyone being like wowed by him, thinking, oh, wow, he's a hidden talent. And then it proves that one race was a bit of a fluke.
Yeah, also, but Nick de Vries, I mean, he did perform in WEC. He did win the Formula E. It's not like he didn't perform anything at all. So
yeah, but in Formula One, he was pretty much atrocious. Is the only
true,
way to
true,
describe it.
But
But
car wasn't too good either, right? They scored 8 points the whole year. I mean, it's
no, true. But the Williams isn't a great car, and Colapinto is beating
no, but
Albon.
true. But here he comes. We've got Zoe, who's been absolutely disastrous this weekend again, spinning on its own, making mistakes. Just the car's pretty bad, but I mean, that's also true.
Yeah.
We got Ocon, who shows that he can race. I mean, it's fair. He can have
Yeah, Ocon's got talent.
Definitely. Yeah. We got Bottas. He's done. Over. He's going to Audi next year with a bit of luck for him. Insane call. We got Albon, who's now being shown that actually maybe he wasn't all that good, though we thought so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's not mention Stroll. That's too that might be a bit too easy. We got Yuki. I mean, he's got a pretty good season, right? So
Yuki, I do still think is a talent, but as this weekend proved, and we talked about him earlier in the year, and I remember saying that I thought he was calming down and he was showing a bit of maturity, and it was good to see. This weekend,
all gone.
He gets rattled by Lawson beating him, and he's straight on the radio with unnecessary comments.
He had a point though. How they could get after the pits, he was behind Lawson.
Yeah,
which it wasn't fast. He was just fast knows what actually happened, and he asked, "What has happened, guys? How am I behind him?"
Yeah,
and this engineer said, because I think I wrote it down somewhere. His engineer said two things. One, we've got a penalty.
Yep.
But that penalty was yet to be redeemed, so I don't see how that actually was relevant at that point.
It didn't really matter at that point, no.
And he said the undercut was actually way stronger than expected.
Yep.
Where Yuki pitted first, so he actually did the undercut himself.
Oh yeah, I didn't catch on to that.
I did, because I wrote it down. Like, wait, what? I actually checked it. He was 2 laps earlier. So the engineer, you can just say to Yuki, mate, I know you're going to be frustrated, but you're just too slow today.
Just slow today. Just slow today. That's all it is. Yeah.
What's happening? Oh, you're driving 6/10 a lap slower than your teammate is, who's new. But hey, okay.
I mean, we're looking at Lawson, and we're giving Lawson loads of praise. Like the way the season had panned out so far, we'd had races where Ricciardo was slower than Yuki, and then we'd had races the opposite way around. And sometimes the gap between them had been pretty high, depending on the circuit and maybe depending on the directions they've gone with their setups. We're giving Lawson some praise. I honestly think Ricciardo would have done similar if he would been racing this weekend.
Yeah,
because it wasn't strictly that Lawson dominated Tsunoda in the race. It was also that Yuki was just slow. He just wasn't anywhere near his best. Whether that comes down to it being a sprint weekend and lack of setup time, could be. Don't know. But yeah, Yuki wasn't a great benchmark for Lawson this weekend.
Nope. Let's see how that unfolds in Mexico. Because also Alonso let's not go there today either. But Magnussen, come on, it's done. Especially when you...
Magnussen's not going to see next year, surely.
So that's, let's see. But I think this shows that we need more talent in more quickly. James.
Yes.
Focus point number 2. You ready?
Go for it.
Okay. I know what an apex is, although I can't seem to hit it lately in sim racing. You know what an apex is. Yeah. But for people that don't know what an apex is, and we have promised, because we got a lot of questions from new Formula One fans. Actually, since Colapinto in it, we are being followed much more in Argentina and surrounding areas. So for new people, can you quickly explain what's an apex?
It's like the middle of the corner, basically. Well, it's not necessarily the middle of the corner. It's the point where you are closest to the curb during a turn. I think that's about right.
Yeah, if you hit the apex of a corner, you basically cut the corner in two.
Yeah. The apex, where that is on a corner, depends on the type of corner and what comes before or after that corner. So if you imagine a 90-degree right angle, the apex of a corner is not guaranteed to be at the 45-degree mark. If you've got 90 degrees, you wouldn't necessarily put a 45-degree line in between
Exactly. Yeah.
your two lines to create your middle line and say that's your apex where the line for your 45-degree mark touches. Because
it is where you want to hit the corner to have the most speed throughout the corner.
Yeah. So
Or
the corner before or the corner after, and the how the track is before and after a corner can shape where the apex is, because it's all about, like you just said, it's about taking the corner as fast as possible. A Formula One driver's, any racing driver's job is to make the track basically as straight as possible, to minimize steering input, to maximize corner speed. Now, you can't get away from the fact that you've got to turn 90 degrees on a 90-degree corner. But if you
do it in less than 90 degrees, you're fast.
Yeah, if you can, if the next corner is very quickly afterwards, you might not have to do a full 90 degrees, because you can kind of go from one corner and sort of straight line it into another.
At least it's the point you want to hit. And why is the apex important? Because we have a rule in racing for many, 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 many years, but it's been followed up a little bit more closer over the past years. That says if two drivers fight for a position, I don't know the exact words, but I'm just free translation here. If two fighters fight for position, the corner is for the one that is in front of the other on the apex of that corner. Basically, if we go head to head into a corner, and that corner goes to the left, and I'm ahead before we go left on that apex, it's my corner. Means you have to back out.
Yeah. So the way it used to be described, it didn't used to necessarily talk about the apex specifically,
Exactly.
but it was whoever was in front going into the corner, and it was always about who was entitled to the racing line. And the racing line, often on a corner, goes from imagine it's a 90-degree left-hand corner. The turn, or the racing line, will start on the very outside, on the right-hand side of that turn. As you make the turn, it will swing all the way to the left-hand side of the circuit and will clip the apex of the corner, clip the curb of the corner on the inside. And then on the way out, you'll drift all the way back to the right-hand side of the corner. And that becomes your racing line, and that's the fastest way to take a corner, if it's just a standard corner. And it was about who is entitled to the racing line. So if you're the person in the lead, you're entitled to take the corner in the most optimal way.
Yes, which means if you're ahead at that point, I should back off and try again. That's how it was.
Yeah, back off. There's been various.
Or if something happens, it's probably the fault for the person that didn't have the corner. That's what I.
But there used to be things like if you were significantly alongside them, you were entitled to space. And
but then
like
what
that.
Is significantly? That was the issue back then.
Yeah, because then it was, is it your front wheels are alongside the side pod, or is it your front wheels are alongside? There was, it's hard to judge.
Exactly. And that's the issue. We have two things that happened in the past, let's say, 15 years of Formula One.
Yep.
We have circuits that has asphalt next to it instead of like gravel.
So
you can go wide at corners.
Yep.
So you can take risk because it won't hurt you that much if you go a little bit wide.
Yes. Yeah.
Second thing happened. We have Max Verstappen that came in the sport. I said, you know what? If I can brake enough and I can push someone out, just mildly speaking, I'm fine. So they said, no, you have to be in front of the apex. So we will rewrite the rule a little bit more clearer. And even Max Verstappen said the way you now write the rules is if someone takes a dive bomb, so an unwanted risk of putting it on the inside of a corner, but makes the apex first, then it's my corner, even if I would never make the corner anyways.
Yeah.
He has been proactively saying that for 2 years now, I think the rules in place. We had an incident even with Lewis Hamilton and Max in 2021, I think, even where they crashed in Monza. And Max like, yeah, but I was in front in the apex. And then nobody knew. He also knew he would never hit that corner. But he was in front, so the rules say. I mean, it's been a discussion for years now, Jay.
Yeah, Monza's in the history now. I'm not going to get into that.
No, not true. But I mean,
I think his interpretation of that is incorrect. But yeah,
true. But there's also another rule that says if you go off track, you can't overtake anyone. Period.
Yes.
And this weekend showed a couple of things. One, that sprint racing can be awesome if nobody actually gives anything about it, just goes for it.
Yeah.
Two, if you have a track which goes fast and wide and has a lot of asphalt next to it, people will just hit that apex, go wide, and take a little bit more risk. Because if you force anyone off, it's not a big thing. Worst case scenario is you give the position back. Best case scenario, you're gone, right? And we've seen a couple of actions. So there's been multiple incidents. We're coming to Lando and Max in a moment, though. There's been multiple incidents this weekend where two cars go into, I think it's turn 12, but I'm also
12, I believe you're correct. Yeah, 12.
Where they go in, it's a left-hander. The corner runs a little bit wide. And the one on the inside, but also turn 1, this goes exactly the same, actually. The one on the inside says, hey, I hit the apex. I was in front of the apex, so it's my corner. So I'll let it go wide. You have to go off track, or you just have to go behind me. That happened on Saturday's sprint quali. It happened sprint race. It happened during the sprint race with two Ferraris doing it again and again and again on their own teammates. Yeah. It happened Sunday with Max and Lando. So Lando got penalized for it and lost his third position. He had a faster car. Yeah, and I think there's two things happening here. He got a penalty and George Russell got a penalty, and they both didn't get it for forcing a driver off the track. They both got it for overtaking while being off the track.
And no, George's was for forcing a driver off track.
Oh yeah, he was on the inside, yeah.
Because he was on the inside attacking, but they deemed that he wasn't first to the apex, so he didn't have the entitlement to the racing line, which would then, if he did have entitlement to the racing line, it would be on the outside driver's responsibility to back out. But Bottas didn't need to back out because he had entitlement to the corner effectively. So I think the problem here is that you should just never be able to force somebody off track like that if they are significantly alongside you. We need to go back to that missing or not being factored into the rules is a problem. So yeah, George should have got a penalty there. He should have been giving Bottas space.
Let's call him Boris. I think it's Boris.
But then likewise, Max should have given Norris space on the first corner, and I know the first corner is often treated differently, but still the rules as they are basically encourage Max to do what he did or allow Max to do what he did, and I don't think that's good racing. I think it's crap racing, basically. I mean, Max compromised himself. Look at Leclerc just waltzed in and was like, well, I'll just drive around the corner normally and I end up in the lead.
Yeah, so
without doing anything.
I agree on you, except I don't necessarily agree on everything in that sentence. Yes, he gave it away to Leclerc.
Yeah.
Yes, it could be considered bad racing, but I also think this is World Championship stuff you do to fight out the World Championship, and it's just optimizing the rules. He didn't make the rules, right?
No, he didn't make the rules. But okay, let's talk about
turn Lewis 12, would have done the same. Alonso would have done the same.
Turn 12, he left the track. He completely left the track. He in no way was he ever making turn 12.
No,
his angle was too acute. His speed was too high. His speed was too high because he wasn't interested in taking the corner. He was interested in being first to the apex.
Yeah.
But if he leaves the track, to me, and I don't know why McLaren are arguing this, and nobody else seems to be talking about this, he's left the track and gained an advantage.
But his opponent did the same. That's the issue.
Then why have they not both received a penalty? In which case, both of them just carry on as they are.
Wow, there's something.
He has left the track and gained an advantage because he's left the reason he's left the track is because he's gone too fast in the corner, which is what's given him his advantage. So he's overspeeded through the corner, which has given
No,
him the apex, but then he's gone off track. So he's gained an advantage by going off track.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but it's also
the advantage came before he went off track, though. I don't know if that's stipulated in the rules, but that's a massive problem.
I think that's where the attacker
is just being ignored.
I think it's where the attacker is always at a disadvantage. Always has been in racing.
I
think two
Norris
things here.
Have just Norris questioned whether he even had the lead, and his team told him, "No, we thought you were first to the apex." Why they didn't just say, "Give him the lead back
and go again,
pit straight," and then just follow him all the way down to the main straight again, and then go again?
Yeah, that's something I was questioning as well, because I mean, it's hard to. I get what you're saying, and I don't actually disagree with this. I think Max did everything he should have done, which is optimize these rules, and maybe it's bad sportsmanship.
That's what it comes down to for me. I think it is bad sportsmanship.
Yeah, but I also think that any Lewis would have done 100% the same.
But nobody else seems to do this as often as Max does. That's the problem.
They also don't get into position to overdrive the car as much, I think.
Well, there's lots of fighting throughout the rest of the field.
Yeah, but
nobody else does it as often as Max. Where, like, when was the last time
Carlos
Max was overtaken on the inside?
3 times Carlos on a Saturday.
Yeah, but when was the last time Max was overtaken on the inside?
Never. It doesn't happen to him.
He doesn't know, because he knows, go to the inside, hold the inside line, and just brake really, really late. It doesn't matter if you don't take the corner.
Which is how he defended 15 laps against Norris.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the rule goes wrong. But I don't necessarily think that's his fault. I think he's optimizing those silly rules.
I just think it's bad racing. It's bad sportsmanship as well, to be honest. He's the only person who's abusing this loophole, really.
Well, yes, I think Sainz did on Saturday.
And it's exactly the same as what he did with the moving under braking, and then they eventually brought in the Max Verstappen rule, effectively, is what they were calling it for a while.
But he didn't do it afterwards anymore.
He was all over the place braking, and they had to stop him.
No, and I agree there as well.
I feel like he's doing the same now with this.
So those rules have to
change. And it's only really showing now because he's actually having to fight. Last year, and for basically 2 years, he didn't need to fight, so this never cropped up. But as soon as he's back to fighting, he's doing these moves that nobody else was doing this when they were all fighting last year, like further down the field.
No, but I do think of championship fight. I agree with you, right? And don't get me wrong. But I also think a championship fight is different than a fight for 2 or 3 or for your constructors. And that's where you do see the difference.
Maybe
I also think it's... I
just don't like to see it. I think it's... Yeah, Formula One, there'll be a rule change. The problem is it's always the same. It's allow it to happen for X amount of time, so some of them benefits from it loads, and then change it next year, and it doesn't matter because, it's
and I agree.
But, so
the FI is just too slow, James, with everything.
Yeah, they are.
But these rules, since we've been doing this show, I think we've discussed this silly rule for a couple of times. And we definitely discussed it multiple times when just watching races, where we're like, this is a silly rule. It has to change.
Yeah.
We see Alonso do exactly the same, by the way, although he doesn't get into that much situations this year as well.
Yeah.
And these guys are just winners. And consider it bad racing. It's not against the rules to do so. It is a crappy rule to do so.
The thing is, if there had been a collision, that would have been Verstappen's fault. Because he wasn't taking the corner, he effectively wasn't in control of his car. It's no different to his collision with Hamilton in Hungary. Because he tried to do the same move there, and Hamilton doesn't care. He's got nothing. He's not in a championship fight. He doesn't care.
Norris can't afford a crash.
Max, that's the problem. If
both
of them wipe each other out, that benefits Max because Norris doesn't gain on him for another race, and suddenly the amount of points he needs to gain per race to have a chance of the championship increases per race because we're 1 race fewer, but the amount of points between them remains the same. So, he can race with Norris the same way that he raced with Hamilton for a significant part of the 2021 championship. But if there had been an accident or there had been a collision, that would have been on Verstappen. So when he's
but it's
effectively going off track and forcing somebody else off track like that, and he's not really in control of the car, not in control of the car to take the corner, then I don't understand how that's not either forcing somebody off track, driving erratically or whatever, or like there's got to be a rule in there that would catch that.
I think
Or just
the
leaving the track
reason.
and gaining advantage, which is what he did, because he kept the place really by leaving the track, because he braked too late to take the corner correctly, and by going off track, he could have kept the place by keeping Norris behind him. So
I don't disagree with you. I actually agree with most of what you're saying, but I also have a couple of points which I want to make on this whole Norris World Championship title fight.
Well, he's not really in it now. I don't think he can't afford to lose points on Verstappen any race.
No, that might be true, but also Max still has to take another engine, so there's still options. But
McLaren haven't taken a new engine yet.
They said they didn't need to. They don't need to. So
we'll see. I mean, there's still a Mercedes car. All the other Mercedes taking engines, aren't they? Or most of them are.
Yeah, true.
So I don't see what's magic about McLaren. They're a customer, they're not a factory team, and there's no difference between customers and factories anymore. So
ask Zach. But James, you briefly mentioned it. If Norris gets gone off by Max there, he gets the position back on a smart place and overtakes him. If you do it on the second DRS zone, there's almost like if you give the place back just before there, which isn't that far away from where you did it, you should be good, right? I mean,
no, what he should have done, but this is all said in hindsight. Remember, so
fair enough, but still,
in the heat of the
team,
battle,
you're managing that.
Yeah, in the heat of the battle, and his team were convinced that he was in front. Now, whether Norris should have, to be fair, it's difficult to see in a Formula One car. I'm sure it's difficult to see in any racing car when you're too busy trying to spot your braking point, and you know there's someone alongside you. You don't know who, in a split second, for that one specific point on the circuit, who's in front or who's not.
True.
So,
which is why
Norris is maybe relying entirely on his engineers and putting his trust in his team. But to play it safe, just let Max by along the pit straight, which is already a DRS zone, because Max will be deploying full battery at that point, or he will be in deployment mode for his battery, and he will be using some of the precious battery power that he needs to defend down the super long straight in the second sector, and where they did their overtake and it all kind of got messy in the first place. And just do it again there the next lap. Let him pass on a place where Max already thinks, I need DRS and I need battery to try and get a chance of it in turn one.
Yeah, so
you just gift him the position back turn one, and you even say it on the radio.
I'm giving it back. Just make a political statement. Yeah.
Then the stewards know that you've given it back, and it's not that Max has overtaken you. And then do the same as he did for all those laps. Follow him through the twisty bits, which the McLaren did exceptionally well. He was only losing 0.2,
which is
maybe 0.3.
A lot through, or not a lot through the S's. So
no, in dirty air like that, I thought that was very impressive of the McLaren to keep up like that, and then just pass him again later on. We already know, like Max was quite clearly struggling with grip. He was missing apexes. He was getting poor exits now and then. Certainly, like the 3 laps leading up to that overtake, he was getting massive oversteer coming out of corners, wheel spin. He was losing traction. So just let him have the position pack and then go again another lap. And if you do it like that, where you know going into those S's you're only going to be like a 10th behind him, then you know by the time you get to the hairpin before the main straight, you're going to be 3 or 4 tenths behind him. That overtake's going to be done before the corner.
Exactly. Now, so that was one of my points. And second is, although it was beautiful defending by Max, in my honest opinion, like they always just make sure you take the inside, you take the outside line on the other side to get more overspeed into the next turns.
And Max's battery management,
90% on the straights every single time.
His way of driving, he was not being defensive when he didn't need to, obviously, and he was like maximizing as good as you could his exits on the corners that mattered.
Yeah.
He wasn't wasting power, tyre wear, or anything where he knew that it didn't matter anyway.
Wide exit on the after the S's instead of taking the inside line, which you normally do.
Yeah.
Just to get a little bit more speed going into the DRS
just to carry
zone.
a little bit more speed so that he's got, like, it's a slower.
But if you're Lando and you're coaching Lando here,
yeah,
you just say on the straight, on the inside, stick as much left as you can. F it. Go for it. And it's done.
There was a couple of times where Lando probably could have done that. And we were chatting during the race, and we were on your Discord talking about it.
It was very predictable as well. That's what I meant. Like it.
Yeah, I said during the race, literally, I think I said it before it then panned out the way that it did, that Lando just needs to be more aggressive. He just needs to throw it up the inside and just go for the apex.
Because then he has the apex and it's done, right? And
yeah.
So that's something I like. So I think McLaren could have helped him more. And I also think, like you said, give the position back should have been a team call, because what happened here is if he would have get him on track, Oscar could have maybe passed him as well. But because they took the gamble of, hey, you're good.
Well, if
you get the penalty, they had to back off Lando for Max, because else Lando would have lost 2 positions. So,
I mean, if it had overtaken Max the way Max defended against Lando, then he potentially could have given Piastri the position just by pushing Max and disrupting his line and his momentum and his. So yeah, but yeah, they chose not to do that, and we ended up having this massive long discussion about it afterwards,
which will not go would now stop. Quick question then: championship over? Yes or no?
I think it is. I don't think Norris could afford a single weekend like this. He lost points on the sprint. He lost points in the main event.
It's just 5 points though.
He's not.
He's not in the fastest car after the wing change though. Maybe.
I do think that was a circuit that doesn't massively suit McLaren, and I think I didn't hear a quote on this, but I heard it referenced that they'd said this, so maybe they did say it, maybe they didn't. But like the high hard braking and then hard acceleration zones in a circuit don't seem to suit the McLaren super well.
No, they did well on Silverstone though. So.
Well, Silverstone doesn't have too many hard braking zones. It's got a lot of flowing zones, but not hard braking like there's multiple.
Yeah, not turn 1 and turn 12 maybe. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean you got turn 11, so the
although
turn
Monza they didn't do too well either. Never mind.
No. So yeah,
could be right. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to refrain my opinion about this yet.
Yeah. Mexico might work out a bit differently for them, but
no, then Checo comes alive, man.
Yeah, it's the one circuit where he does this season, but I feel like Mexico as a circuit isn't too different to Austin, really.
I saw a joke about Mexico.
Bits, you've got some hard braking bits, you've got some hairpins and stuff. You haven't got.
Don't you have massive overtake much possibilities? Plus, Mercedes engines are known to be working less good on those thin air circuits, though.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
So
the elevation
see how that works.
Yeah, it's got a long straight. I don't know if it's as long as the Austin straight, but probably is actually. Mexico straight is very long, isn't it?
Yeah. That is the overtake position, because
it's basically the only one. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to that. We'll talk about that.
Who knows? I mean, to be fair, the thin air might be a problem, but we also have sort of had it proven in this race that the McLaren is very good at following. So maybe that second DRS zone that normally does nothing.
No, DRS does nothing in Mexico. Usually, DRS means absolutely nothing in Mexico.
Well, other than on the main straight. But
but I mean the DRS in the thin air usually it doesn't.
It's less effective because
it is basically a track where you keep someone off at this back at the arena part, and you just go for as much top speed as you can.
Yeah.
Which I think Ferrari might be having a good time, because we don't have much time left. But boys, those upgrades worked for the red ones.
Those upgrades, they didn't bring any.
But they did, I think, actually. But
Did they?
yeah.
I thought there was no changes.
But impressive, eh? Both
That was a
race.
great race. Yeah, great weekend for them. Shame
Even
about
good strategy.
sprint tripping over each other and not really maybe qualifying quite as well as they could have done. I'm
They
surprised
went Red
also.
Bull. They went don't do much on a Saturday and just own it on Sunday.
Yeah. Even qualifying on the race day.
Yeah.
Sorry for the Grand Prix. I was surprised, especially so in Q3. No, sorry, it was in Q2. Leclerc set a particularly good lap, and it was all onboard footage during like the main TV feed, and he was leaving so much space to make sure that he actually got that lap in and didn't get it discounted, because that lap was just to get him through to Q3, and he was still only like 2 or 3 tenths off whoever was fastest in Q2, and that to me was quite ominous. And I thought that Leclerc actually had a very strong chance of finishing on pole. I mean,
If
we
it
didn't
wasn't
get the
for
final
Russell.
runs because of Russell flying off into a wall, but or a tire barrier. But yeah, I was a bit surprised that there wasn't a Ferrari on the front row. Not that it mattered after the first corner
Exactly. Didn't take
too
long.
much. But yeah, they just had a phenomenal race. Leclerc's first stint was exceptional.
Again,
And then Sainz's second
Singapore
stint
too.
was exceptional. Sorry.
Singapore had a great race as well. So
Yes. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
no, I
Leclerc's on
think
great form.
they could win Mexico easily as well. Honestly, I can
I
see
think they
them
could. I think it's a
win the
circuit
rest of
that'll
the
suit them
races.
again. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just said it. So it is.
Ferrari Constructor World Championship. Right?
No, I don't think they'll manage that. I think it's great that they go 1-2, but I fairly often
It's just 48 points though. That's not.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's a tall ask. I think McLaren had a slightly disappointing weekend and will maybe do slightly better going forwards. And I think Ferrari had an exceptional weekend and maybe won't be quite as strong going forward. So this is all where it helps Verstappen, because
Yeah, Norris does.
Ferrari
If
and
Norris doesn't get the 25 point or 26 at least 3 times now, it's
Ferrari and McLaren are going to keep tripping over each other for the rest of the season. I'm sure of it.
and Max is just optimizing his results.
Yeah, Max would just be like, "Well, I just finished second or third, wherever, and that'll be enough because I'm not consistently being beaten by one of my championship rivals." I think that's how the championship will go now, and that's why I don't think Norris has got a chance, because he needed to make points this weekend and he failed at that. And really, if you look at it, they've scored the same amount of points. Well, until
Max, yeah,
yesterday or Sunday's race,
since
Miami or whatever it was, which is like half the season or more.
Which is pretty, like, I mean, I'm a Max fan, so I'm biased, but if you're driving the worst car and still manage to outscore
worst car
of the two. No, sorry. I mean, the car is definitely worse than the McLaren since Miami. No doubt.
Well, it has been at some points, hasn't been at others, but yeah, it's not been a great car for them.
I don't think he's not as bad as Kick Sauber. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I mean, they didn't mean to say that.
No, but then the McLaren hasn't been the dominant car that
no,
Red
I
Bull
think the
was
McLaren hasn't been
before
the dominant team.
Red Bull fell. So what I'm trying to get at, to counter what you're saying, like, yes, it's impressive of Max, but it's not like McLaren was winning every race or potentially winning every race, because Ferrari have been very good during that stint as well.
True.
And races like Monza.
And 2 wins for Mercedes in the meanwhile as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. One of them, they actually really stole McLaren's win because McLaren dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
But then every team does that at some point during the season. There's always going to be a time where a team does worse than they think that they should have done.
True. Except Red Bull, they just give all the bad luck to Checo, and then it's like, And even if we
Well, there's
falter,
maybe
we can just point at Checo. No, never mind.
There's maybe hungry for Red Bull as well.
True,
and
true.
That was partly on Max with him having a bit of a meltdown over it all. But
I don't remember that. I don't have any active.
But this is
memory
what I
of that.
mean. Every
agree.
team has bad weekends.
I agree, mate. I want to go into the predictions. Sorry, I'm cutting you short, but also we're running way too long.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot to catch up on, but
yeah, it's been too long. Although this has also been some hectic weeks.
Yes.
And if you are following us or know who we are or what we do next to this, you know why it was been hectic. But we'll get there. We'll get back.
Yeah.
James, the score was 28-24 in your advantage. We predict the scores and you get the point for everything you get right. You predicted that Norris would get pole position, and I'd say Leclerc. You were right.
Yeah.
29 points for you. I said Max would win. You said Norris would win. We both were wrong.
Yeah.
You said the first DNF is Yuki. I said Albon. I could never predict it. It would be you. It would be Lewis Hamilton.
No.
So no points there.
Risk without contact as well. I mean, yeah. Weekends to forget.
Definitely. Let's see how it got. And they were so good. But never mind. Well, potentials there. Then we said, what position will Colapinto finish, James? And this is who gets the closest, who wins. And you said he'll end up ninth.
I was confident he would finish the points.
Colapinto fan. I said, no, mate, he's going to hit 10th. And he did. He
got 10th.
No,
it wasn't no, mate. To be fair, you guessed first. You guessed 10th, so I then guessed 9th. So. But yeah.
Okay. So 10th. Which means I get a point, which means the current results is 29-25.
Yes.
So we're still close, but not as close as Max and Lando are. So 29-25 in your advantage. James, we're going to Mexico. Who's going to get the pole position?
I will say Leclerc.
I'm going to say Sainz.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that if it's not Leclerc, I mean, and I don't get a second, vote, I would guess, but I was waiting for you to make your guess because I think if it's not Leclerc, it's probably Max. He does do very well there.
Yes. So who's going to win?
Who's going to win? Leclerc.
I'm going to say Max wins.
Okay.
Finish the championship. It's not called Mexico for a reason, though. He's won 4 times there, 5 times. He's won a lot there, though.
Yeah.
And I think it's a top speed track. And although the Ferrari looked awesome, the top speed wasn't there. It was the acceleration out of the corner that won in the race, I think.
Yeah, Ferrari haven't had great top speed.
No.
Really,
and the Red Bull had by far the best top speed this weekend as well. So. And we have no special wing from McLaren, but I'm not going to go there. We'll see. I think the air doesn't help Ferrari, the Mercedes engines. Just a prediction.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to be the first DNF?
First DNF.
I dare you to say Colapinto.
I would never diss my boy like that. I couldn't.
I'm
going to say Lawson.
I knew you were going to say Lawson, though.
To be fair, his racecraft looked very rusty.
Yeah, and he said
especially
that well.
in the sprint race. That's why I didn't rate him particularly highly after the sprint, and I wasn't super impressed with him. He did have a good race in the end in the main Grand Prix, but yeah, he looked rusty. He looked like he hadn't raced a car in a while.
I would say either Zoe or Valtteri Bottas or Boris, as you'd call him. But
yeah. I don't know where that came from.
I think
Bottas and yeah, I don't know.
But these cars are so slow. I think even if they crash, they just start running. They'll be able to. It's not going to happen.
Well, you wouldn't notice if they crash.
Exactly. He doesn't see a difference.
Well, look, they look like they look like they're not moving, which is how they look anyway.
Oh, what do you think if I say Albon again?
Ooh, Albon. Okay, yeah, sure.
Gonna close twice.
Pressure's getting to him.
Albon was the most investigated driver this weekend. incident
Yeah,
involving
that's another thing. There were so many things we could have pulled up about this race. I don't recall any track limits being flagged or mentioned at all during the sprint, but there was lots of it. And then suddenly during the race, it was like,
you get a penalty. You get a penalty.
We didn't do that during the sprint, did we? Yeah, we better do that during the main race, haven't we? It's the same with the forcing people off track.
Yeah, we're not gonna. I agree, but this is too much. Too much. James, bonus question. I don't know whose turn it is.
I think it's my turn because I think your question last week or last race or last podcast, get there eventually, was where would Colapinto finish? I think that was your question. So I can't now ask where will Lawson finish because I've just predicted that he's not going to finish. So, we did finally see the safety car for the first time in 8 races, 9 races, whatever it was.
2 laps.
The safety car is not a lie. The safety car does exist. So
you should make the safety car stand out on the thumbnail.
I should have done that. Yeah,
rare sightseeing. Oh no, never mind.
Didn't even consider that. Yeah, never mind. Missed opportunity. So let's go with something safety car themed again. Let's go with how many laps will the safety car do? Rather than will during the safety car come out, or how many times will it come out? Yeah, during the race. How many laps will the safety car do during the race?
So I have a couple of statistics I remember from this.
Mm-hmm.
I should cheat, but I can't cheat because you'll see me type. I think there's been 9 safety car calls so far.
I think safety car is fairly likely in Mexico. Yeah.
No, I think there's been 9 since when it came. It came in 2015, I think. So since 2015, that's
averaging 1 a year, more than 1 a year, just.
The 9 safety cars in 8 years, yeah. But there has been, I think only 2. I think there's there were 3. I'm pretty sure. But this is that because I saw this last week. I think there have been 9 safety car shouts during the race, and I think 6 of them were virtual safety cars. So 3 full safety cars during the
so not many.
Which I think will not get a safety car.
Let's make this more difficult then. Virtual safety car and safety car. How many laps? I'm going to regret this question next week because we're going to have to count how many safety car laps there were.
Yeah, this is you got to do this one. But if you're listening to this show and you want to make sure we get this right, help us count.
We're always welcome to a bit of
help. 7.
7 safety car laps.
Yes.
Of both varieties. That is safety car and virtual safety car combined. Yeah, 7's feels like it's not too high, it's not too low, it's just right. I will go
one on the straight in the arena, and you're stuck there, and that's VSC. So
yeah,
it's during the race, right? Not during the weekend, because it can happen.
No. This is just for the race. It's not a sprint weekend. This race.
I'm going to say 7. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, just to confirm, this is not a sprint race we're heading into.
No.
So yeah, it's not a sprint weekend. So it's just for the race. So I will just say 6.
That's so cowardly. I'm not saying anything, but this is a bit cowardly.
Yeah.
We don't get any rain though, I think. Didn't we have like a 3, 4 last year or something? Last year was nuts, I think. Oh well.
Safety cars.
Yeah.
I seem to remember there was a pretty big off during those like S's. Somebody had a pretty big crash in
it was Magnussen, I think.
And Checo got wiped out at the first corner, didn't he? Or wiped himself out.
With Leclerc.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Magnussen who.
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, he kind of hit the curb.
And my mind! Like, I can't think during the day, and then we start talking Formula One, and I suddenly know how many safety cars there's been in the last 8 years on a certain track.
I am sometimes very bad at recollecting races from the past, but for some reason I can remember the disappointment of Checo getting wiped out or wiping himself out at the first corner in the last race.
I remember
Mexico,
the stories people saying, "Do you think Max will let Checo pass?"
Yeah, and then there was never a need for that to happen because he just got himself tangled up in the first corner.
Yeah, and not
And that
even
was
being
his
close
race
to
done.
Max either. So, I mean,
Yeah,
never mind that. Okay,
yeah.
we got the predictions in.
We have, yep.
Looking forward to this. Yeah? What is the one thing you think people should look for this weekend, or pay attention to?
Paying attention to this weekend. The apexes of corners.
Okay, people, count safety car. If you see laps, look at
Yeah.
the apexes of corners. If you don't know where they are, send James a message and he will tell you. He will write out this little image and he'll tell you all about it.
100% will.
Like you just do when you coach me at sim racing.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's worth watching out for Colapinto. James, thanks so much. See you next week, my friend.
Yep, see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.